Let's take a look at the grid of our Masters Endurance Legends second race. Now, they start how they finish race one with one notable exception. Steve Tandy, who was first to the checkered flag in his Peugeot, penalised for passing under yellows. So Jamie Constable's Pescarolo starts on pole, having ended up with victory ahead of Mike Lyons in the Lola and Keith Freezer in his ex-Mansell's Zytek in fourth place. Crichton Lendudis in his Peugeot will start fifth, ahead of Ligier of Stuart Wiltshire. And then Christoph Danzenburg in the Lola Aston Martin with its LMP1 V12 versus the four-cylinder AER of the LMP2 MG Lola EX257 that Mike Newton raced in period 18 years ago and still is enjoying. Some of the cars feature a pair of drivers. Some of those drivers have talent penalties and slightly longer pit stops as a result as well. So this 30-minute race will feature a mandatory pit stop, and we will get to those as you get towards the mid part of the distance. It's not all about the prototypes. We also have our GT contingent as well. Porsche versus Ferrari versus Dodge Viper. Well, squint a little, change the RAC bridge to a Dunlop bridge, and the sights and sounds take you right back to Le Mans in the early part of this century. So these are 21st century Le Mans and IMSA cars, and cars that also race in the support series for the Le Mans 24 Hours and World Endurance Championship. So we got cars from European Le Mans, Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, that was the predecessor of the ELMS, and from the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So we've got LMP1, LMP2 and LMP3 cars, open and closed prototypes, all sorts of petrol and diesel engines, and all sorts of history going on as well. Some of these cars have been racing for a few years, and some have been undergoing a major rebuild very recently. The red Lola B1280, part of Mazda's IMSA program, ran for a couple of years with a Mazda diesel engine, but that's been replaced now by an AER engine, which immediately made the car much more competitive, and it has just come from a very significant rebuild. Well, the cars will go around and warm their tyres and warm their brakes, ready for the start of this second race of the weekend. Again, after a little bit of a cool day for qualifying, they get a very hot sunny day as they get underway here at Silverstone. It's the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It's not the Circuit de la Sarthe, but these are Le Mans racing cars very much through and through. So green flag waves.
And it's a shame we can't control the light here and just kind of dim the lights, because something that really does add to the effect of having these Le Mans cars and other LMP cars at Silverstone is a setting sun or a bit of dusk, but clearly you can't organise that, so we've got a lovely bright sunny day, which has its advantages.
And a lot of Le Mans, of course, is run through the day, but the unique thing about 24-hour racing is going into driving through the night and emerging, hopefully, with your car still in one piece on the other side. So you're absolutely right. You know, if you've got a short race, then going into the dusk, as they did yesterday evening, is a nice way of doing it. But we have got well, let's imagine it's the early afternoon hours at Le Mans. We're heading towards the end of the race, perhaps. We've got another hour or two of racing yet to go, and the cars and the drivers and the teams are feeling pretty beat up. Spectators have had a long night and possibly a long week of sleepless nights
and existing on chips
and beer. Yes. Am I painting a good picture?
Yeah, well, you are, yeah.
While you, I definitely am. While you see the cars on the warm-up lap, if you sort of have often quite thought it might be good fun to go to Le Mans, you're right. It is very, very good fun to go to Le Mans. It's remarkably cheap. Logistically, it's very easy. Buy some tickets, go online and do it this week, because next year's Le Mans, 2023, is going to be a big one. 2023 is the centenary of the Le Mans 24 Hours. In 1923, car manufacturers raced around the clock twice for the first time in central France, and this year will be the 100th anniversary, and it will be extra special, not just because the arrival of so many top teams in hypercars, but because of everything else that the organisers are bound to throw at us. If you've ever thought maybe one day I'll go, make 2023 the one day. I know I sound like I'm overselling it. I promise you, when you go, you will know I really am not. Le Mans is one of the great life experiences, and if you do it once, chances are you'll be hooked for life. Lights about to change for the start of the second Masters endurance race of the weekend. That's the Classic at Silverstone. Away we go. Jamie Constable leads the field. Steve Tandy in the Peugeot into second place. Mike Lyons comes through into third with his Lola. And that ex-IMSA factory Lola, the Mazda livery car. Oh, Jamie Constable, huge lockup. Still cold tyres and cold brakes on that open Pescarolo. And right behind him now, Steve Tandy. Now, Tandy in the Peugeot diesel in the first race took a couple of laps to get really wound up to speed to make sure he had the grip in the tyres. These cars have not had their tyre warmers on as they would have done in period. The tyres have not come out of preheated tyre ovens, so it is going to take longer to get them up to temperature, and without that temperature in the tyres, they are going to struggle a little. And as a result, Michael Lyons, an inveterate racer of historic machinery, is having a real go at the Peugeot of Steve Tandy. Lyons really pushing hard here, and Alistair Douglas, trouble for another of the Lolas. That's car number 65.
Yes, the B1260 of, we think David Bry starting that one, but sharing with Alan Purbrick. So an early spin, maybe a cold tyre moment as they come through Beckett's at speed for the first time. And it is the pole position Pescarolo of Jamie Constable that still leads in that absolutely glorious Gulf livery as the 65 Lola gets going again, but it's lost a lot of time. But Jamie Constable leading from Steve Tandy in second place in the Peugeot. There they are going around through Stowe Corner and down into the Vale, then up towards Club. Now, oh, Tandy having a really good go there, but no, Jamie Constable holds him off. But look at Michael Lyons. Michael Lyons is really, really quick in anything you sit him in, including modern GT cars, and he's a little bit outgunned by the Peugeot ahead, but he's having a good go at battling for that first or second place as they come up to Village again. This is for the second time. Steve Tandy goes round on the inside, out breaks Jamie Constable, but Jamie Constable comes back to him as they go around towards the loop. Now Constable's on the outside, Tandy on the inside. Constable's got a good run there. Tandy's car takes a little bit longer to wind up. The diesel turbo not as sprightly off the slower corners, and Michael Lyons has come through into second place alongside Tandy, and he gets through on the run into Brooklands corner. So Michael Lyons takes second place, but Steve Tandy's trying to get it back again. Yeah, Michael Lyons in a car that was run for the first time since its rebuild on an airfield on Thursday with its 2-litre AER motor, and that car raced by the factory Mazda team in IMSA in period. That car, of course, run by Yost Racing, fresh from their successes with Audi. Now, here's the other ex-IMSA. This is a BK Motorsport Lola, again, originally with Mazda power, and then with the AER 2-litre turbo motor that is also powering the LMP2 MG Lola of Mike Newton, car number 25. So the AER 2-litre turbo is a very popular engine in LMP2 before they moved to the normally aspirated Gibson of the modern era. And Michael Lyons hugging the inside line. He's going to force Steve Tandy to go the long way round the outside. Everybody understands that the Peugeot was built for one job only. Yes, it had to race in other places, but it was built to win at Le Mans, and there are not lots of slow and medium speed corners at Le Mans. As a result, it was built for top speed, for big speeds, for fast corners. There are very few places in Le Mans where you have to slow down a very great deal.
Tandy struggling perhaps on some of the tighter stuff. Jamie Constable, the race leader, he's having a miserable time, isn't he? He's just been in a 1980s Formula 1 race, finished in second in the Tyrrell, and now he's in a 2000s LMP1 car leading the race here. What a dreadful Sunday afternoon he's having at Silverstone.
It's a tough life for Jamie, isn't it? Here he comes down the Wellington Straight. Michael Lyons, very, very impressive in these early stages, and you can see Steve Tandy just trying to line the car up for a move, but Michael's just too quick, and he brakes a little bit later going into the left-hander at Brooklands. And I noticed that Crichton Lendoudis is in fourth place, so we've got the two Peugeots running together as problems, is it, for the Matt Wrigley car in the pit lane. We saw that a brief shot of it earlier on, but clearly problems for them.
Well, actually, let's just say it's a regulation fuel stop for them, so no driver change, fuel and tyres. He'll be back out. Of course he won't, but they have got a bit of a problem. We will have regulation stops in the middle. There will be no refuelling in this short race, just 30 minutes to get the job done. And Steve Tandy's going to have a bit of a think now, isn't he, because the cars in front of him, the Pescarolo and the Lola, may not have the ultimate top-end speed, but they can just about stay out of reach in the tight stuff. Here he goes, he's going to have a big send, has a good look on the inside. This is not his car, and it is a very valuable piece of kit. I mean, as they all are, but there are a few more Lolas, and the chance of getting some more parts for them. There aren't many more Peugeots, and I don't think Peugeot do customer support.
Three leaders coming up towards the fast right at Abbey and then the fast left at Farm. Perfect sort of section of track really for these cars. This next bit not so great for the Le Mans cars because it's very tight and twisty, a bit like the Ford chicane right at the end of the lap, but the rest of the circuit at Le Mans very quick indeed. But they're coming now to a fast left and then the long straight, so Michael Lyons has positioned himself right behind Jamie Constable in the Pescarolo, and in turn Steve Tandy would have been right behind, but he decided to go for the inside. Michael changes line and goes to the left.
Lyons just shutting the door there. That wasn't an attack on Jamie Constable. That was, nope, you're not coming round the outside of me here.
So through the second element of Luffield, out through Woodcut Corner, onto the old pit straight they come, and then we'll get that lovely long shot of them coming towards us at Copse. Here it is with the heat haze coming off the track as they turn in now into Copse Corner. Still, it's Jamie Constable that leads. Second place, Michael Lyons. Third place is Steve Tandy. Crichton Lendoudis is fourth, but 4.5 seconds back now.
Well, don't think that these cars are low downforce. They may not be as high downforce as you might want to run here at Silverstone, but a Le Mans car must have some downforce. What it is low drag, and that's a very different deal. So you can see still they've got rear wings cranked up as much as they can. Jamie Constable still leading. Michael Lyons in second place. Said that car was run for the first time on Thursday after a nearly 500-hour rebuild by Simpson Motorsport. Julian Simpson-Smith, the man who leads that team, is the son of Le Mans 2-litre Group 6 class winner, the late Robin Smith. So he's got history, or family history, with Le Mans. And this car, as I said, run up at its only previous run before qualifying was in a local airfield on Thursday. They think the car's got a lot of potential. Said at the end of yesterday's race that the engine sounded like it was fluffing a bit. That wasn't a misfire. This engine has anti-lag as well, so it's got a whole lot going on under the bodywork of that Lola, well, Lola Mazda livery car, but Lola AER. So here is our GT lead battle. Car number 14 is the Stocco and McDonald Ferrari 458 GT3. Now that is still Ferrari's current frontline GT3 spec car. So that leads the red and white Dodge Viper with the Aston Martin in third place. So that is your top three in the GT category. Right behind is the black Lola, trying to find his way through. Again, Lola, as we've seen throughout almost every sports car race, GT race, and single-seater race, have made cars for just about every category available. Now here comes the Viper, that 8-litre V10 winding up as he tries to look down the inside of the P2 car, can't quite find a way through, but just that head-on view with the flames spitting out of the exhaust as they get on the brakes and downshift. That takes me right back to the early part of this century. A great sight, and those 8-litre V10 Orica run cars, just a fabulous noise they made. Vipers, Corvettes and Aston Martins, could you want for more in the GT battle? Throw in some Ferraris and Porsches and you've just got a wonderful cacophony of noise.
And it's the Ditting Aston Martin that's third in the GTs. They are in separate subclasses, so they are actually leading their class, but let's just call them GT cars and lump all those classes together for the purposes of this race, because the Ferrari is leading, number 14, in second place in the GTs, just behind the Pro-Trans. In fact, still behind the Pro-Trans in the LMP class is the wonderful Angus Fender number 9 car, the Dodge Viper with the 8.4-litre engine, huge engine, and then it's the Nicholas Ditting Aston Martin, which along with the Lola Aston Martin that's being run as 007 in this race, has one of the greatest sounds out on track, a wonderful noise, and there is the 007 car, a completely different class, of course. This is an LMP class car, but the 007 and Christophe Danselbourg, who had he's another one who's had a tough afternoon, because he was running in the Formula 1 race as well, wasn't he, Christophe, the Belgian, but he's in the Lola Aston DBR1, and it's an amazing machine with a V12 6-litre engine that really rings your ears.
Yeah, Christophe Dansenborg, I hope his earplugs are working well, because he's just been in an FW07 Williams Cosworth, and now he's in the Lola Aston, and the Gulf livery car behind him was the Pescarolo LMP1 car, looking for a way through of Tim De Silva. Just ahead of them, this is the Nigel, Greg and Leo Mansell Zytek that raced briefly at Le Mans. They raced it here at Silverstone as well in period, in the 1,000 kilometres, or possibly it was the 6 hours again by that stage. It sort of varies from year to year, season to season, can't remember. But, do remember the car in action. Great opportunity for Nigel Mansell to race with his boys. So, pit window is open. Our GT leader is in for a wash and brush up. No fuel, no tyres. Slightly
shorter race today, 30 minutes, so the pit window from 10 minutes to 20 minutes into the race. So about 8 minutes to go for the pit window. They still have to stop for 60 seconds, and there's still some driver penalties, time penalties for the pro drivers. Michael Lyons, I'm sorry to say, will have an extra 15 seconds to serve in the pits, and neither of the cars around him will. So in a way that's a bit of a shame, because this is a great battle which will be broken up by the pit stops.
Really is. He's all over the back of Jamie Constable. You saw those headlights flashing. Of all the things you have to do on a new car, they've got the automatic headlight flash working as well. There it goes. Look, you get a 5-second burst of strobing headlights to get cars out of the way. Contact with the Freisinger Motorsport Porsche. And that is with the Felbermeyer Porsche, right rear tyre and wheel rim broken, and that probably is going to mean damage to the P car that hit him as well. Now that's a real shame for those two. So, what damage do we see? Jamie Constable still leads from Michael Lyons, and the Peugeot of Steve Tandy is right there, but the Felbermeyer Porsche and the Proton team that ran that car still run cars in the World Endurance Championship for Proton Dempsey Racing as numbers 77 and 88. 77 in period. In that livery was Gerald and Christian Reed. Christian Reed runs Proton now. And here's where the incident came. You could see there, big wriggle from our race leader, Jamie Constable. He saw the danger, saw the Porsche was going to close the gap, and was desperately trying to get out of the hole. There was nowhere for him to go. And I wonder if he has picked up trouble, because there has been a lead change. And that is Mike Lyons, who now leads the race from Jamie Constable.
And Steve Tandy, the other driver involved in this battle, has gone into the pits for his mandatory pit stop. As has, I think, Tim De Silva as well has been. No, he hasn't been in. Sorry, it was Friese that came in to the pits, and also Danselbourg, the 007 Aston Martin, the Lola Aston Martin. So we've got some leading cars coming into the pit lane now. as we look at the marshals going to the aid of the driver of the Porsche that unfortunately involved in that incident.
Yeah, still with the names of its original drivers, Horst Felbermayr Sr. and Horst Felbermayr Jr. Felbermayr Jr. still races occasionally. His son is now racing as well. His name, you will be unsurprised to hear, is also Horst. And problems, that is Jamie Constable. It is a puncture. The tyre has separated from the rim, and that rear puncture has cost him any hope of victory. And that was a lap ago, just getting caught out, trying to get through on the inside of that Porsche, the Felbermayr liveried Proton Porsche.
That's be interesting when Jamie Constable goes up onto the banking, because it's the same corner. He's gone exactly one lap before that tyre failed, so he'll end up sitting next to the other driver. Maybe they'll just say, well, one of those things.
Well, it really was one of those things, wasn't it? Certainly no intent either by the GT driver to shut the door hard or by the leader to punt him off, but it was just one of those misunderstandings in traffic, and they do happen. Tim De Silva back out of the pits, and De Silva, by the way, in car number 10, has the fastest lap of the race. Now, where did he start? He started a distance back, didn't he?
He was 26th on the grid.
Yes, that is a distance back, isn't it? 26 on the grid. And so at the moment, he has the fastest race lap. And there he is in his Pescarolo, car number 10.
And we're in that phase now where the pit stops are happening, so it's difficult to know exactly where cars are, but we do know that Michael Lyons is still leading, but we also know that when he does serve his pit stop, he will have to sit for an extra 15 seconds. So he needs to be 15 seconds ahead of Steve Tandy, really. And Steve Tandy's already done his pit stop.
Was Tim De Silva, I'm forgetting now, was he in the Frank Williams Memorial Trophy in the Formula 1 race we've just seen, or has he had 10 minutes off and lunch? Because he's been in just about every race the entire weekend. But this Pescarolo LMP1, the sister car of Jamie Constable's car, Tim De Silva's fastest lap is a 1 minute 47.0. The next fastest fast lap is a 1 minute 49.1 from the Peugeot of Tandy, and the leader Lyons at 1:49.2. So this car of Tim De Silva has gone 2 seconds a lap quicker on his best lap than anybody else has managed, as away crunches Jamie Constable. Not going to replicate, I'm afraid, his good result in the Tyrrell in the Formula 1 race of half an hour ago.
It's unfortunate for Jamie, because he went into the barriers in qualifying through no fault of his own at all, just trying to avoid another car. Just going back to Tim De Silva, his fastest lap yesterday was a 1:46.1, so he can go even faster if he really wants to.
He was a second quicker yesterday. Well, into the pits he comes. Maybe that was set. Does that say when that was set?
Lap 10.
Lap 10, okay. Well, we are 9 laps in, so that was probably right before the pit stop in the longer race yesterday, which was a 50-minute race, wasn't it?
40.
40 minutes. Well, there is the number 7 car. That's also in the pit lane. So the top 2 coming in together. Michael Lyons. And that Simpson Motorsport run car looking absolutely fabulous. As I said, run originally in period with Mazda diesel engines for a couple of fairly fruitless seasons by the Yost Racing team, and then Mazda decided to bite the bullet, not go with the corporate idea of running the cars with diesels, but use the AER turbo. Safety car is out. Now then, how will this affect the race? A safety car pit stop can be better because everybody else can be chugging around slowly, but also it can be worse if you get trapped in the pit lane.
And the reason it seems so long that Michael's sitting there is because of that extra 15 seconds that he's got to serve for being an elite plus driver. And we'll see him now emerge up the hill out of the pit lane, and we'll start then to get a feel for the relative positions of the cars, although this safety car period adds another mix of confusion in. And number 10, Tim De Silva, is right behind Michael Lyons. So that suggests that Lyons, even with his penalty, had made up enough time on the quickest car on the circuit, Tim De Silva. It's Steve Tandy as well was in that lead group. We'll have to wait for the screens to update to see where he's sitting.
When they came into the pits, Michael Lyons was 14.5 seconds ahead. His extra time in the pit stop was
15 seconds.
15 seconds. So actually they'd done a pretty spot-on job to get him out in front of Tim De Silva. So, well, the safety car now has a queue of cars ahead of Michael Lyons and Tim De Silva. We saw in one of our earlier races the safety car did wave by cars that were ahead of the leader. So who is the first car in the queue? Now a whole bunch of other cars are coming, well, the safety car queue comes by us. Anybody who hasn't yet pitted will be in the pits, and the car up behind the safety car is car number 28, Adrian Watt. So he's in the LMP3 car, a Duquesne.
12th position, so he's not in the leading group.
Yeah.
I'm still slightly confused as to where Steve Tandy is, because he
was in the queue. He was catching the back of the queue. He came hooning past us.
So actually, a technical term?
I think that's him right there. I think that is him just going through shot behind Mike Newton. I may be wrong, but I did catch a glimpse of a Peugeot and a something else whistling under our, and actually whistling is probably the right word, whistling under our floor. Or is that him behind?
It's well, the two Peugeots are there, I think, are they? No, that's not a Peugeot. That's a similar.
Okay, so that's the Lola Aston. That's the Peugeot. So that's a Peugeot. That's number 8.
That's Landudis then. Yeah. So it is.
So it is Tandy that's a little further up the queue. But we've got an LMP2 car, then we've got the BK Lola, then we've got another LMP3 car with the turquoise highlights, another LMP3 car. Those are all Ligier LMP3s. And then the red car with the roof on, sort of, it's not maroon really, I guess. That's Michael Lyons. Behind him with the sort of Gulf colours, the open Pescarolo, that's De Silva. And there Tandy is in the dark blue, black and white, number 16 Peugeot. And there is one car, there it is, an LMP3 car between him and the pale blue and orange Pescarolo of De Silva. Now the timing screen shows that Tandy is 6th and De Silva is 2nd, but that shows the top 5 cars still on an outlap. So until they update themselves here, okay, now we're starting to see it chuntering through with the correct positions. Lyons, De Silva, Tandy. Car number 5, the ex-Mansell's Zytek, the open car that's blue and red, that with red 5, that is in 4th place. That's Keith Freezer, who started 4th. So our top 4 on the grid are still, well, they were the top 4 from yesterday's race, so it perhaps be unsurprising that they are still the top 4 after the pit stops. Of course, with the safety car out, it's not a red flag, so the clock continues to count down to 0. This 30-minute race is going to feature considerably fewer than 30 racing minutes, because the safety car remains out for clear-up of our incidents. Now, there are vehicles moving down towards Copse Corner. I can see out of our window, moving on the grass on the outside of the straight. Coming down to pick up the Pescarolo is a four-wheel drive craney thing. If we're in a European circuit, I'd call it a Manitou, but I'm not actually sure that it is a Manitou. There's the head of station organising things. And again, big thanks to our marshals for making sure that the meeting runs as smoothly as possible over the 3 days of qualifying and racing, the practice day and everything else. And to everybody behind the scenes for keeping drivers, teams and everybody safe on track in the pit lane, the collecting areas and everything else. For those of you that are watching from the grandstands or pressed up against the fence, good afternoon, Ted. Then if you want to get even closer to the action, then why not become a hero in orange? All of the marshals clubs are always looking for volunteers, and you will join a really enthusiastic bunch of like-minded individuals. If you ever want to meet fervent motor racing fans, talk to a marshal.
Great efforts going into trying to recover Jamie Constable's car. It's clearly the damage that's been caused is causing some problems. They can't just drag it along, or it might be quite difficult to lift as well. So they're just deciding how to recover that car, because one of the things they don't want to do is damage it anymore by in the recovery, which is has happened unfortunately. I remember a few years ago a Formula One car was dropped off a crane at Monaco, a very famous Formula One car as well, a McLaren, and dropped on its engine and split the car. That's very unfortunate. So great care is taken to recover these cars. The safety car light's still on, so we know that we're going to get at least one more safety car lap. So I'm afraid the time it's taking to do one safety car lap,
I guess we'll probably get another couple of laps behind the safety car before everything is cleared up and the machinery is back in position. Well, it was the leader, Jamie Constable, in the pale blue car, trying to weave his way through traffic, and I'm sure with a P2 car behind him, the driver of the Felbermeyer Porsche did not see that car coming. And then exactly a lap later, in the same spot, Jamie Constable's damaged left rear finally spat the car off. And there is actually, it seems, air in the tyre, so it may just have been that the wheel collapsed and the car is now sitting on its belly on the ground. There is the ex-Proton Racing Felbermeyer Porsche, still proud in its very distinctive factory livery. Yeah, they wanted to lift the back because it was basically sitting on the gearbox, wasn't it, or the under tray of the car, and that's no way to try and drag it backwards through the gravel. It would basically just scoop up tons and tons of gravel and get no further. So lifting the back is vital, and they're doing as much as they can not to drag the splitter through the gravel at the front as well. So that's it, lower, as low and as flat as possible. They don't just go in and drag a car out of the way. These guys have got a lot of experience and a lot of training. And for some of these marshals here, I'm sure that they were, in fact, I'm sure that some of them were marshalling in period. They could see the logo on the back, Oak Racing, the Oak Racing Pescarolos. We talked about that yesterday. The boss of Oak Racing raced for Henri Pescarolo in period, raced this car indeed in period. And then a wealthy businessman from the Le Mans region in France, when Pescarolo was forced to bring down the shutters on the team, the whole thing, workshop, kit, cars, rights, everything went up for auction, and it was bought, and the keys were immediately at the auction handed back to Pescarolo.
Well, the marshals are trying to clear the car to a safe position because they've waved by everybody up to Michael Lyons. So Michael Lyons is now immediately behind the safety car, Tim De Silva behind him. What they're desperately trying to do is get the track ready to race before the safety car completes another lap. So we will effectively get one more racing lap. That's what often happens. The clerk of the course will be trying to achieve that by telling the safety car to perhaps slow a little so that it doesn't start another lap before they're ready. And the lights are out, so we're going to have one more racing lap before the time runs out.
Yep, we might get two, you know. It depends how quickly they get to the line, because they're lapping in 123, 140s, 140s. No, it will be one. No, it might be very, very close to 2 laps to go. No, fastest lap for the leader, 147, 149. No, we're just going to be a few seconds too late.
Michael Lyons now knows exactly what he's got to do. He's got Tim De Silva, who is quicker than him, behind him. They're coming up the Hamilton straight on the we think the last lap. Let's reserve judgment on that. Through the fast right, the left, and Michael Lyons now is going to come under attack from Tim De Silva as they go into Village, but De Silva chooses not to go through immediately, but then comes alongside. But Michael holds the inside line. He'll now just try and stay tight. A little bit of a lock-up from Lyons there in the lead. Now they go out onto the Wellington straight down towards Brooklands Corner.
One final lap of green flag racing in this battle in the Masters Endurance Legends and the Classic here at Silverstone. Michael Lyons in a brand newly finished car, being rebuilt over 500 hours, tested on Thursday, raced on Saturday, racing here again on Sunday, and Lyons looking to try and add victory here to the podium of yesterday. Be a great result for the Simpson Motorsport team if he can, but right behind him in the Pescarolo, the man who started from 26th on the grid, Tim De Silva. Can he claim victory? It'll be his first win of the weekend. He's been on the podium a number of times in a number of cars. He and his father Harinder have had a couple of letdowns as well mechanically. Half a lap to go out of the Beckett's S's. Does he have the speed down the Hanger straight? It's there or nowhere, surely. Michael Lyons knows that too. Needed to get a good exit, but this is effectively an LMP2 car being chased by an LMP1 car. Here comes Tim De Silva. Can he go the long way around the outside? He hasn't got the grip, has he? Michael Lyons is right there. De Silva has the attacking mode fully engaged, but there's not enough room. Michael Lyons into club corner. He drifts out wide, and here comes Tim De Silva. Incredible, he's going to take it on the last lap, on the last corner of the race. Victory for Tim De Silva in the Pescarolo. Michael Lyons just could not deal with the pickup of that engine in the Pescarolo. The Judd engine fired him out to the corner quicker than the AER Turbo could manage, and Tim De Silva with the fastest race lap. Now, he did go wide outside track limits coming to the line, but it is a one-lap race for victory. You'd be a really harsh clerk of the course to take that away. Yes, it was a little wide, but would he still have got it? I have to say, I think he probably might. It was a fantastic battle at the end, though. Advantage Tim De Silva. He had the power from that Judd V8 in the back of the Pescarolo LMP1 car, just to have enough to show Michael Lyons the inside line and still get picked up on the throttle. Well, the crowd enjoyed that one. There's a young fan who hopefully will be bringing his children, his grandchildren here to the Classic at Silverstone in years to come. I know an awful lot of fans are wandering around, seeing everything else around the racetrack here at Silverstone, but it is very tough to tear yourself away from the action when it's as good as this. And Alistair Douglas, I don't know how many last lap dramas we've had here. It's almost as if they're written into the regulations somehow, because almost every race, something big happens on the last lap.
Yes, we've had some great Silverstone type finishes over this weekend, and there'll be more to come, I'm sure. But that one is right up there with, for example, Michael O'Brien's win yesterday. He won again today, but from a very commanding position. But yesterday, a very similar move to Tim De Silva, just letting the other driver go that little bit wide and then cut through on the inside of club. The difference perhaps with Michael's win yesterday was that the cars were very, very similar. These cars are very different, and Michael Lyons had tried very hard to keep that Pescarolo behind him for the whole lap. Almost managed it.
Well, is that the first win for Tim De Silva this weekend? On the road it is, but yesterday's race was won on the road by Steve Tandy. Now, he had a penalty for passing under yellows. That's not the issue here. The question is whether the clerk of the course or the stewards are going to say, well, you did gain an advantage by going off track. I have to say, when you're racing in the final meters for the line, I think you probably have to leave it the way it finished. Goes the Lola Aston coming through. Where did that finish? Christoph Danzenborg for 5th place. And yeah, from Formula 1 Williams Cosworth to Lola Aston Martin LMP1 car. What a dreadful, dreadful day he's having so far. Really, just a tough life all round. Well, there is Michael Lyons, steps out of the car, and for all the hard work that's gone in, and undoubtedly all the rush, I think, that has been going through the Simpson Motorsport team to get that Lola ready, and get it not just ready, not just prepped, but actually looking like it just rolled off the back of a Yost Racing transporter as well at Road America or somewhere. A fantastic job. And Michael Lyons, like you say, he's like go faster stripes, isn't he? You can just bolt him in and anything he's in goes quickly. The second race here at the Classic at Silverstone for the Masters Endurance Legends. 21st century LMP cars, and Tim De Silva taking victory for Pescarolo's LMP1 ahead of Michael Lyons in the Lola. Steve Tandy finishing third in the diesel Peugeot. Keith Freezer in the ex-Mansell's Zytek in fourth. Christoph Dansenberg in the wonderful Lola Aston V12 in fifth, ahead of Stuart Wiltshire in his LMP2 Ligier. Crichton Lindudis in the second Peugeot, ahead of the best of the LMP3 cars, the Ligier of Rob Hall. Mike Newton just outside the top 10 in the MG Lola that he first raced at Le Mans 18 years ago, ahead of the LMP3 car of Adrian Watt. The Duquesne chassis unique in his field, and Antoine Donsenberg in the Delara Orica. In the GT field, the 458 GT3 of Stoker McDonald winning again, ahead of the DBR9 of Niklaus Ditting. He also won his category, but disappointment of the day perhaps for Jamie Constable after contact with the Osborne Smith Porsche. Saw both of them fail to finish. Didn't see Anders Fender's Dodge Viper retired, but that car obviously with a problem or two as well. It was a blistering start to our mini Le Mans, mini Enduro, but contact between Jamie Constable and a GT class Porsche saw both retire. Steve Tandy's Peugeot was outclassed, and after the long safety car period, we had a lap to sort it out. Tim De Silva attacking Michael Lyons. Lyons, the long-time leader. De Silva with just a little bit more potency from the Judd engine in the Pescarolo, and a tighter line out of the final corner, taking victory at the line by inches.